Mariana, you come from a family of farmers and have had a great career in tech prior to creating AgriSmart. There's so much need for sustainable farming and bringing technology into the agricultural industry, but it is a huge challenge to do that. What were some of the first steps you took to build AgriSmart?
Coming from farming families, I knew how hard it was for my parents to make decisions in the field. So we understood that we needed data. And generating primary data was so hard since there was not government available data anywhere. So we just would build a model. So I started collecting data by deploying sensors in the field. So we would start having data. And then very quickly we learned that it was not good enough because they didn't know what to do with the data. So we needed to create insights that actually supported a tangible decision-making in the field.
What are the key elements of the AgriSmart platform that's helping farmers transition to a digital future?
We help them understand what's going on in the field by understanding the microclimate and supporting every in-season decision-making. It supports them both on mitigation, so using better their resources, using less inputs, less energy, helping them to be more sustainable and therefore having less greenhouse gases emissions, but also in adaptation and resilience. So by understanding the risks of frost, of fire, of disease, farmers are able to respond. And as they work as a community, they are constantly learning from each other.
It's a big challenge to get farmers to adopt these technologies because they're operating with such razor-thin margins already, and they're so limited and cost-constrained that they have little choice, but they want to do it. So how do you make it happen?
So technology has this power of capturing value across the supply chain that can be directed to farmers in forms of incentives. So they generate enough income that it's worth it to do it in the right way. They will increase yield, they will have higher margins, they will profit from keeping nature alive. And the main challenge is to make it widely available to farmers, go through infrastructure and connectivity. Still, only 27% of the farms in Brazil have connectivity in the field. Education, we are still talking about literacy, digital inclusion, so they can learn and engage more with digital tools, and financing. The majority of Latin American farmers they rely on credit to buy inputs. There is no money left to invest in adopting technologies or investing in more sustainable production models like regenerative ag and agroforestry. We work with different stakeholders in the supply chain to align the interests and make sure that farmers receive the right incentives, increasing their incomes by premiums or just increasing their operating margins on increasing efficiency in the field. We are working with stakeholders on the policy-making side and NGOs to improve infrastructure connectivity, financing, and education so we make sure that no farmer is left behind.
Do you think that there's a place long-term for indoor and vertical farming as part of the agriculture mix?
Yes, sure. I think agriculture in the future will be a combination of several technologies. There's no silver bullet that will solve everything, and that's for sure one of the models that will coexist. But also the traditional agriculture, open field agriculture, will improve in adopting regenerative and agroforestry practices.
Well, report and verify is a big part of the challenge, right? And just getting awareness amongst farmers about what their impact is. I thought that's an interesting component of AgriSmart.
We built a huge farming community. We have over 100,000 farmers engaged in the tool that are willing to share the data because they want to cooperate with their pulse. So by that engagement, we were able to collect data. We have 48 million hectares of climate data that then we generate value both for the farmers and to have more traceability and transparency on how sustainable it's being produced.
This is a global challenge. So where are you going to take AgriSmart when you move beyond the Brazilian market?
So we are currently operating in 9 countries in Latin America. We want to expand into Southeast Asia and Africa that shares challenges in infrastructure, education, and financing as an emerging market.
Mariana, you've already been recognized as a thought leader in how we can move the world to sustainable agriculture. What are some of the key recommendations from a policy perspective that you're making that you'd like to see governments adopt?
I would start by regulating the commercialization of nature-based solutions, where we need to trade carbon credits, buy and sell credits that are used to incentivize farmers on adopting good practices in the first way, stopping using fertilizers or energy consumption that is not necessary. So they are paid for that by someone else, and we need to regulate that market so we have the right incentive. That should create a financing way, but it's not enough. We also need more financing allocation so farmers can invest in adopting technology and changing their production model.
Do you think that governments are doing the right thing with respect to financing models as they exist today and bringing the capital markets to bear on especially small-scale farming?
No, we are very far from being enough. I think legislation has improved. In Brazil, for example, in the last years, we have the Plano Safra, that is our credit line for farmers to include technology, but that doesn't get to the end of the supply chain. The small farmers don't have real access to that. It's not enough money. So we need to engage the private sector, the capital markets, to be able to have enough money flowing. But to do that, we need better regulation.
On the point of policy and what's needed, bringing the capital markets to bear on the sustainable agricultural challenge is a huge, huge issue. What do you think needs to be done there?
We need to increase regulation that makes clear how it can be done. So we align the right incentives, both from the side of nature-based solutions, where we have instruments such as carbon credits, water credits, that are remunerating farmers by adopting good practices. They are paid for doing that. But also bringing private sector to finance the adoption of technology and the changes of the production models to regenerative and agroforestry.